A tanker linked to Russian shadow fleet has been exploded in Italy, Ukrainian media reported. The Maltese-flagged vessel Sea Jewel was rocked by 2 explosions in the port of Savona in northwestern Italy on February 15. It was transporting oil from Russia to Europe. The vessel was damaged below the waterline, but an oil spill and casualties among the crew were avoided. The vessel's crew members have reported hearing 2 loud bangs, and the hull's concave deformation suggests the possible use of explosive devices. Italian news outlet IVG reported that a hole has been blown in the hull of the vessel. The Savona Coast Guard is investigating the site with divers, but officials have not yet disclosed further details. Fortunately, the sheets of the safety chamber held, avoiding the oil spill into the sea and avoiding an environmental disaster, the publication reported, noting that authorities said the ship isn't at risk of sinking. The prosecutor's office is considering multiple theories regarding the explosion, ranging from a technical breakdown to a collision to the detonation of ammunition. The incident comes just days after another oil tanker, the Koala, was rocked near St. Petersburg in Russia.
Two Russian drone operators were traveling in an unarmored truck. Ukrainian forces attacked them with HIMARS and drones. The main intelligence directorate considered it necessary to use valuable resources, a reconnaissance drone, a missile system, and attack drones to eliminate this group of aerial reconnaissance agents, writes Forbes. As Russia's war against Ukraine enters its 4th year and US support faces political challenges, the Ukrainians are working to maintain their key battlefield advantage, control over the skies via drones. The operation took place in the Zaporizhia region. A Ukrainian Shark reconnaissance drone spotted a suspicious civilian truck on the Russian side of the front line and began surveillance. Having lost a significant amount of military equipment, the Russians are increasingly using civilian vehicles for transportation and combat operations. Ukrainian forces discovered that the truck was carrying a Russian Orlan drone. Determined to prevent its launch, Ukrainian intelligence called in the military for fire support. The HIMARS soon fired a cluster munition that detonated over the Russian operator's position, causing fatal casualties. The Russian operators were likely killed or escaped as subsequent Ukrainian drones attacked the truck and the Orlan unopposed, destroying them. The GUR reported on the operation, emphasizing the importance of the fight for freedom. But Ukrainians are facing new challenges. Russian forces have begun to actively use fiber optic drones, which are resistant to electronic jamming. The Ukrainian military is responding with a strategy of preemptive strikes, trying to destroy drone operators before they can be launched. Along with the military challenges, political threats are growing. Donald Trump is pressing Ukraine to give the United States half of Ukraine's rare earth minerals, valued at hundreds of billions of dollars, as payment for past US aid to Ukraine, which has included dozens of HIMARS launchers and thousands of rockets for them. Worse, Trump has hinted that he may withhold future aid unless Ukraine agrees to the mineral extortion. "We have to get something," Trump said, ignoring the obvious benefits of US support for a democracy battling an authoritarian aggressor. "We can't continue to pay this money." Statements by members of the American delegation at the Munich Security Conference have raised concerns among Europeans that the US and Russia could jointly attack Europe. This is reported by the American publication The New York Times. The publication notes that, according to European officials, Trump has surrendered not only Ukraine but also all of Europe to Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin shocked the audience at the annual Munich Security Conference in 2007 by demanding an end to America's dominant influence and a new balance of power in Europe, more suitable to Moscow. He failed to achieve his goal then, recalls the publication. The author of the publication adds, however, that comments by US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Vice President James Vance at a recent conference in Munich have raised concerns among Europeans that the new US administration could team up with Russia and either attack Europe or turn its back on it altogether. Analysts believe that such a shift would give Putin a previously unthinkable victory, far more important to him than any special military operation goals, writes NYT. As an example, the statement of the vice president of the Carnegie Endowment, Andrew Weiss, is given, who believes that the most cherished dreams of the Russian Federation are beginning to come true. Since the beginning of the Cold War in the late 1940s, the Kremlin has dreamed of supplanting America as the cornerstone of European security. Putin is certainly savvy enough to seize any opportunity the new administration presents. Weiss said, "Let us recall that US Vice President Vance, in his speech at the Munich Security Conference, merely stated that neither Russia nor China are the main threats to the security of the European Union. The speech signaled that the pre-existing dispute between Europe and the US was no longer to do with the sharing of the military burdens or the nature of the future security threat posed by Russia, but something more fundamental about society. It was not just a collection of cheap shots in a culture war, while a real life-and-death military war was largely ignored. It was a call to arms for the populist right to be able to seize power in Europe and the promise that the new sheriff in town would help them to do so." Speaking to the populist right and defending digital freedom, Vance said, "Under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will defend your right to offer it in the public square. Agree or disagree." Ukrainian forces conducted a precision strike against a Russian drone team operating in Kursk Oblast, whose explosive unmanned aerial vehicles have been hounding Ukrainian forces in nearby Sumy Oblast, Forbes reports. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that their air force successfully targeted a platoon from Russia's 60th Motor Rifle Brigade in Elizavetovka, a village just across the border. Surveillance footage captured the quick succession of 4 precision munitions, likely American-made small-diameter bombs, launched from a MiG-29 fighter jet, hitting the position. The proximity of the target suggests smaller drone operations. The proximity of the 60th Motor Rifle Brigade's position to the border with Ukraine, just 2 miles, implies the brigade was launching smaller drones from the position. Forbes war correspondent David Axe notes, "The timing appears significant, following a massive Russian drone attack on Wednesday night that saw 123 Shahed attack drones launched against multiple Ukrainian regions. The strike represents a shift in Ukrainian tactics, particularly as Russian forces increasingly deploy fiber-optic FPV drones immune to traditional jamming. Ukraine's strategy reflects what Axe describes as an effort to get left of the boom, to borrow a US military term, and defeat Russian drones by targeting their operators. In any event, the Ukrainian attack may be part of a wider Ukrainian effort to get left of the boom, to borrow a US military term, and defeat Russian drones by targeting their operators. This effort is becoming more urgent by the day as the Russians deploy more fiber-optic FPV drones which send and receive signals via long cables rather than radio. This adaptation became crucial after the Ukrainian 95th Air Assault Brigade faced significant challenges from such drones during their recent assault on Berdin in Kursk Oblast. However, the sustainability of these precision strikes depends heavily on Western support. The small diameter bombs used in these operations are manufactured in the United States, and their future supply faces potential political hurdles amid ongoing discussions about military aid conditions and proposed peace negotiations. The 250-pound small diameter bombs can reach targets up to 60 miles away when released from high altitudes, though Ukrainian pilots typically fly low to avoid Russian air defenses, reducing this range. Military analysts expect an increase in similar raids as Ukraine adapts to counter Russia's evolving drone warfare capabilities.